Do you think it's more difficult for successful or desirable men to settle down?
It's only difficult when they grew up when they've got low self-esteem. For men, their success with relationships is very much determined by their self-esteem. Women can get a shortcut with their appearance and so on and so forth. For men, their self-esteem is either going to propel them into a great relationship or prevent them from any kind of stability. Now, if he grew up without any validation and not knowing if he was attractive, what happens is his self-esteem is almost blocked at that stage of life, and then he can still be a sucker to women and still kind of accept the unacceptable simply because he wants to be desired. But if he has good self-esteem and good boundaries, he will never suffer in relationships. He just won't, because he knows when he's welcome, he knows when he's not accepted and when the relationship's not working, and he has a willingness to walk away. So the thing is, money with low self-esteem is really, really difficult. It's a very lonely path. It's a lot of gold diggers, it's a lot of escorts, it's a lot of partying, even at the olden age. Now, money with high self-esteem and good values is, it's still difficult, but you can create something out of that.
What about successful women?
They struggle. They really struggle, because essentially with successful women, here's the thing. Men always say, oh, when women earn more, they leave men, but they don't realize why. There's actually studies to show that when men are with women that earn more than them, they produce more cortisol. They're actually more angry and stressed around her. And that obviously has a negative impact on their testosterone. So they're actually less sexually attracted to her. And so they're meaner to her. They're mean. And also they don't treat her the same way. If a man is dating a woman who knows is unemployed, say if he's on £20,000 a year, he'll still use whatever he has to treat her well, like, look after her. But if he's on £20,000 a year and she's on 50,000, he'll use nothing to invest in her. Now, women don't need your money, but they do need your investment, because that's how men fall in love. The more they invest in something, the more they attach to it. If they invest a lot of money in a car, they really care about it. Lost a lot of money into a Bitcoin, they want to see it go up. Invest money into a woman, they want to see it work out. So when they are with a woman that earns more, they invest so little, so walking away seems so easy for them, and it seems so hard for her because she's been the one that's investing in them. So it's very difficult. It's not just the woman who's rich and now she leaves you. The man no longer adds any value. That is the main issue. He doesn't use whatever tiny resources he has on the woman like he normally would.
How can people better deal with jealousy then in relationships? It's
very difficult when it's activated, because it comes from some childhood trauma and stuff. So when it's activated, that loneliness and that rejection is activated as it may have been as a child, and it's like the world is over when somebody's jealous. But I think in my experience of working, and even my own experience of jealousy, the only thing that helps remove jealousy is really building an identity outside of the relationship. If jealous people tend to place their entire self-worth and identity on the happiness of their partner and how attracted their partner is to them and what their partner is doing. Now, the reason why that's so fragile is because your partner he's a fallible person who's going to have times where they look at somebody else, they might be attracted, whatever happens, their entire identity is crushed. So to remove that jealousy, you really have to create an identity outside of the relationship, which gives you the confidence that if this relationship is great, I'm going to be in it. If it doesn't work for me, it's okay. I can go somewhere else. But that fear of letting go and fear of that they're going to find somebody else, it means that they're in a constant competition with their partner, and they're almost terrified that their partner's going to meet somebody else. But really, when you build your own identity, you realize if they do meet somebody else, they're no longer the person you loved anyway. So it's okay. You almost have a zen attitude towards it, but it's very difficult. Do you ever suffer with jealousy?
Not massively, but that's been improved by having more things occur in life that have given me a more stable foundation. One of the challenges, I suppose, is that if you get jealous, you have two very difficult choices. One is tell your partner. Mm-hmm. That can go badly. That can be perceived in the wrong way, or even if it's perceived in the right way, it can change the way that you are perceived. Mm-hmm. And the other one is to just swallow it yourself and deal with it on your own, which then begins to create a trend in a relationship of keeping things from your partner.
But it doesn't actually stay in your side. You think you're swallowing it, but you're then manifesting it in the form of checking when they're online, checking who they're following, checking, and then bursting at small things, not the real issue. So when your partner turns up late or doesn't reply to your text, then you over-exaggerate your response because that jealousy has been kept inside. So it doesn't go anywhere when you keep it in. It stays inside you. Your body keeps score of it, as they say. So the reality is, by expressing it, and with the right person, they'll try and help you soothe that jealousy with some reassurance. With the wrong person, they'll make you feel stupid and pathetic. Maybe you are being stupid and pathetic and they can't handle it, but they'll make you feel that way. And then the jealousy then exaggerates and increases. So it's a good test of your compatibility if you do explain it to your partner.
One of the things I've been thinking about is almost like historical jealousy. And this is where the body count conversation comes in. What have you come to believe about how much body count matters, and then how can people deal with historical jealousy better?
Well, the thing is, it's now become a big topic of debate, and men are like, oh, body count, body count, body count. It's a big deal. Here's what I really say about body count. The testament of your body count is more your rejection rate than how many people you slept with. Now, if you are, let's take for somebody like you, for example, who's got a big name on social media, looks great, access to loads of women through the nightclub. Now, if your body count is, let's say if it's 10, but you've had hundreds of girls throwing themselves at you, yours is actually still low. Whereas if another guy who has no access to women, but finally gets 1 or 2 girls to sleep with him, on paper it might be less, but his rejection rate is so low. And now instead of looking at how many people sleep with, look at their rejection rate. Now, if a girl has slept with 5 men or 10 men, but only 5 or 10 men have tried to approach her, that means every man that tries gets access. But if she's a really attractive woman, she might have higher, but her rejection rate is higher. So really look at how many people your partner is rejecting rather than just their body count, because on paper a really unattractive man who has nothing going for him, his body count's going to be low. Doesn't mean he's a decent man. It's just that he didn't have the opportunity. Similarly, women that are not that nice to be around, not that kind, not that pretty, not that attractive, hers is going to be low. Doesn't mean she's virtuous. It's just that she didn't have access. It's the ones that have access but choose to be selective. That's what you should be looking at, is their selectivity.
Problem is, you can't ask them the number, like how many rejections have you done in your life?
Yes, you can't. That's the hard part. But what you can tell is how easily excited this person is by the opposite gender. It comes quite naturally. You can tell when people are super excited when the opposite gender pays some attention, and other people who are totally immune to it. That person that has a glee attached to attention is always going to maybe not have a higher body count because they might not get access, but they've got more risk of diversion because they get too much ego boost from the opposite sex and not from other areas of their life. So I think body count really has to depend on the person's ability to say no to sex. It's not just how many people they slept with, but how many people can they say no to?
I've never heard this frame before. I think it's very interesting.
Yeah. What do you think about that? What do you think?
The body count conversation is so skewed because the world that we're living in now is not representative of where it would have been 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But the thing that I'm most interested in is historical jealousy. Yeah. So hearing stories about what your partner used to get up to, even if it happened once, right? And it's so strange. You didn't even know that they existed. You didn't know them. They didn't know you. They couldn't have said no because they were waiting for you to come. Maybe this was a one-time thing or whatever. And it triggers, especially in men, it triggers such a visceral fear, right? Of inadequacy, of like jealousy, but it's strange. Like, how can you be jealous about a thing that happened before you even knew who your partner was? So talk me through your conception of historical jealousy.
What happens with historical jealousy is human beings in general, we prefer pain we can predict. Predictable pain is almost more welcome than, definitely more welcome than anything unexpected. Now, what we do with retroactive jealousy is we hold on to the past as a way of predicting how they're going to hurt us in the future. The more you're anxious you are, the more you perceive threats in your environment. So what's happened with people who are jealous of the past is essentially they have a core belief that their partner's going to hurt them at some stage anyway. Now, if there's no present day evidence for that, they will look for it in the past and use that as a way of creating hypotheses of how they might hurt you in the future, and therefore be mentally prepared for the sabotage. Now, so essentially what they're doing is preparing themselves for the worst, but they can't find evidence, so they look for the past, and it's usually because of a fear of abandonment that they have within themselves. And I know it's more common in men because their fear is more stimulated by the fear of cuckoldry, that she might, like evolutionary wise, she might have a child with somebody else and pretend it's yours, that fear. So it's ingrained in them. But more time, that fear is activated when there's been some childhood abandonment.
What about women? What are women worried about?
We're worried. We worry not as much about retro. We only really worry about previous exes if there is some financial or emotional investment still going on, usually when there's kids. So what happens is women tend to get jealous of the ex-wife where they've got kids and stuff like that. We get jealous of exes that are still a priority in their resources. So we're only threatened by women that have access to the resources, whether that's energy, time, or money. But if he's not giving them that, we are more worried about future threats.